it's Michael Watts here, and today you find me at the Turnstone Guitars workshop with Luthier Rosie Heydenrych. Hello, Rosie.
Hi.
So, there are two reasons for visiting Rosie today. Actually, there's three, because she makes a fantastic cup of tea. Reason number one, however, is this instrument that's just been finished, and one of the most attractive features, as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that the top is made out of yew. Rosie, what's going on there?
So this is one of my E-series models. It's an all English wood guitar, something that I've been doing for quite a while, kind of experimenting using English woods. For the soundboard, it's kind of interesting because you think that for wood available in England, it's actually quite hard wood to find that can be used for the soundboard. I've used Western red cedar. I've also used Monterey Cypress, which is English grown, but that's not native.
Okay.
So yew is native, and I've used it on the back and sides before, and as a back and side material, because it's actually quite hard, so I kind of didn't think that it might be appropriate for the soundboard because of its hardness. On the back and sides though, it imparts like a really interesting shimmery clarity to it, which as a soundboard material you kind of think, well, that could actually work, because obviously you get hardwood top guitars.
Absolutely, like all mahogany instruments.
Exactly, so I thought, well, let's give this a whirl. I'm kind of interested in experimenting, so we'll see how it goes. I feel like my gut says that it's going to work, and I feel that that's enough to for me to give it a go. So
fantastic. Which model is it?
this is my TG, so it's my biggest model, which is kind of similar to a grand auditorium, so it's kind of got the bigger lower bow, tighter waist, probably not too much shorter than Dreadnought in length.
Right. Okay. And it's a 14 fret instrument. What's the neck made out of?
That is made out of English ash, which is a super stable and strong wood, so for a neck it's absolutely perfect.
Fantastic. Goto 510s, that's always good to see.
Yeah.
And this lovely rosette as well.
So the idea behind the rosette, and generally kind of with all of my guitars, is bringing together a cohesive theme throughout the whole guitar. So this one, obviously the yew is very dominant, it's unusual, I know it's going to attract a lot of attention. Marrying that with the walnut, but also bog oak, which is the ancient oak, which is sourced in the Fenlands. The rosette kind of marries all of those things together, so you've got the yew going through the middle, the walnut on top, just kind of brings everything together. So you can also see the yew is used throughout on the fret markers, the walnut's used on the headstock, so everything kind of, hopefully, is my aim, comes together using the woods in an aesthetic form.
Beautiful. We've got a little bevel here as well on the side.
That is, well, I like to term that Rosie's rollover, but it actually is taken from Kathy Wingett's roundover, because she extends it down, and I do that as well, but this is literally just a very minimal, let's take the corner off, make it a tiny bit more comfortable, but it means that nothing, because you often see, or if you look inside the construction of a larger arm bevel, you have this huge block
There's all sorts going in there.
There's all sorts going on in there, and I feel quite precious about my sound bracing anyway, and to want to put a big block in there for the sake of someone else's comfort, I just don't really care about their comfort, so I'd rather get the tone out of it. But if I can take off a little bit, then that's kind of an ideal solution, I think, just to take that edge off.
And did you approach the voicing of this yew top differently to how you would have with spruce?
Only to the extent that it is slightly harder, so I knew that I could take deciding on kind of the timbers used. So for example, my English woods I'd usually brace in cedar, but with the yew being harder, I thought the cedar's not going to be strong enough, so I used Douglas fir. But when it comes to the voicing, of the actual yew, I mean, I kind of, not to get too heavy into my bracing, but I have a very kind of set plan to bring out the balanced tone, so I played with that a little bit, but by and large I kind of kept my bracing very similar to what I do for spruces, cedars.
Beautiful. And this is walnut again here on the headstock?
Yes.
With the turnstone bird?
With the turnstone bird.
Beautiful. So we've got a bone nut and saddle, hard carved.
Yes.
What's going on the fretboard? Is this bog oak?
Bog oak. It's all bog oak.
Wow. So this guitar is now ready for the show, and you're currently building this one as well. What's going on here, Rosie?
So this is my smallest model. I'm building this especially for Woodstock. It is a gorgeous set of Cocobolo on the back sides being used.
I saw that last time I was here.
Yeah, and it's it's still not very finished, but in an even lesser
beautiful set, though.
Absolutely gorgeous.
It's lovely to see the progress. Yeah.
And it's now all braced up, and we've got the sides here. So the next stage is going to be I'm going to put the soundboard on first and the back on after that.
Right.
But yeah, so to explain, it is my smallest model. This has been slightly redesigned. I've done a couple since I redesigned it, but basically it's trying to get the most out of a small body guitar. So obviously small body guitars can be a bit boxy, a bit punchy, lose the lower end. So when I redesigned it, I was thinking about, well, what can I kind of do to get the most volume out of a small body guitar?
Sure.
So 12 fret join is standard, moving the bridge into that sweet spot, which means that it's in the midsection of the lower bout. Activity goes straight into the point of the most flexibility. This one is going to have a slotted headstock. So slotted headstocks are something that I've kind of moved into. I was always more of a solid headstock kind of girl, but I think it looks really nice on a small body. It removes a little bit of weight, but just more the elegance, I think, is what is drawing me more towards it.
Yeah, from a player's point of view, because you get a steeper break angle over the nut as well.
Yeah.
You can get a slightly looser feeling guitar.
Okay.
And as it's a 12 fret, that's going to feel all kinds of springy and gorgeous. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
And the top?
The top is a flawless, lovely set of Alpine Spruce, and I can bring it out.
Oh yes,
if
please.
you would
Wow.
like to see from my drawer of wonders. So aesthetically, I'm kind of keeping this one fairly simple. So the Rosette uses the same wood as the Cocobolo. Nothing really flash. It's just kind of a simple, nice, clean Rosette.
Letting the wood speak for itself.
And it's a lovely example of a Alpine Spruce, and it's now been braced up. So that's going to be going on there. Basically what I try to kind of experiment a little bit is thinking about the shape of braces, thinking about the materials and about the tones that they produce. So I play around with it, I tweak it, but by and large, generally, I kind of have a treble side and a bass side, and I want my bass side to be loose and responsive and my treble side to be tight. And I'm playing around with the bracing using harder species on my treble side, lighter, looser species on my bass side. So the hope is that you get a nice, although I know when the strings go in, it goes across the board, but I've been to quite a few interesting talks about resonant frequencies and kind of getting different resonant frequencies within the soundboard, so that you're not kind of tuning it as such to a specific note, you're hoping to get lots of different notes. So that's kind of my angle on it really, and trying to get timbres through the different species, lots of kind of different expression, so it's not just spruce, there's characters of other timbres coming in, and I hope that gives kind of a fuller, richer, more interesting tone.
That's fascinating.
So we've got the neck here. This is probably not worthy of the camera right now, but here it is, all there for you. Got the carbon fibre and the truss rod channel, and we're going to put a tenon joint and put a nice back veneer, and then there'll be a case of cutting out the headstock, routing in the slots, and starting to fit it to the guitar and shaping the neck and all that kind of good stuff.
Beautiful. So what sort of player is this Cocobolo guitar aimed at, Rosie?
Well, I think from a tonal perspective, the small guitars are really punchy, hypersensitive. The Alpine Spruce, plus the very kind of shimmery mirrored effect of the Cocobolo, it's going to be a lively guitar. So it's going to be someone who's after some kind of maybe attack, punchy, really lively tone. And it's going to be probably unusually loud. I find with the small body guitars, they're weirdly louder, but the characteristic is obviously you lose a bit of mellowness. So it's going to be someone that I think will kind of want to hit their notes and want to hear them, and it'll hopefully be nice.
Exactly.
And,
so
nice
it's
and lively.
an accurate, expressive player. I think that's going to be wonderful. One thing I did notice, you've got, instead of a sword kerfing, you're using tantalones. Now
yes.
That's a very Spanish approach.
Yeah. So what I kind of my approach with that is aesthetically. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it looks different and interesting, but the way that they're spread, it enables the soundboard, and a lot of makers, they kind of they thin their tops towards the edge because it kind of makes it move. And in my mind, within all of those slots, the soundboard is the energy is getting further into the sides. So that's kind of the logic for that. But I also use lots of different materials as well for my back bracing and my kerfing, and they're all kind of colours, because the back and sides is a coloration. The tone is driven largely by the soundboard, but the way that I build, I do want the back and the sides to contribute.
Sure.
So depending on the woods, I mean, obviously I've chosen mahogany here on a cocoa bolo back, but I've used padauk quite successfully.
Really?
Yeah, I really like padauk. On my English ones, I've used oak, walnut, and it just, again, it adds, similar to what I was saying about the soundboard, this timbre and the character of the woods is coming through, and kind of subtly changing the tones with all the different choices that I'm making.
So this is one of the most characterful instruments I've seen for quite some time. Which model is this, Rosie?
This is the TG.
Okay.
It's a client order. The client's coming to pick it up tomorrow, so it's kind of cool that you got to see it before it goes. But yeah, we kind of worked on it together, like I do with all of my customers. We spec it out, and it became quite apparent when we were talking that he was really into dragons.
Sure thing.
And one of the things that I most enjoy about this whole process is coming up and visualizing ideas. So obviously we've incorporated the dragon theme kind of throughout, but there's different kind of subtleties. So the satin finish on the bog oak kind of looks like a bit, if you catch it in the right light, kind of looks like dragon skin.
It does have this iridescence to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. But so yeah, kind of working out all the different aesthetics. So I did a new bridge for this. I kind of went a bit crazy with all the slight alterations. So this is it's kind of a play on my bridge design, but it looks a bit more like, I wanted it to kind of look like dragon wings, like it was flying, because obviously you call them the wings of the bridge, but let's actually try and make them look like wings. The scales on the Rosette, that's laser etching, so that's something that I've never done before. Yeah.
Wow.
They were laser etched and then filled with resin, and the bog oak has been used again with the satin finish. They look like scales, or the texture of dragon scales. The inlay is something that the client originally designed, but we kind of tweaked together. So we worked together to kind of come up with a.
What's it? Is that Korean?
No, it's resin again.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And on the nut and saddle, this is what's called Whitby Jet, which is fossilised wood. Yeah, I've used this on a previous guitar before. It's something for that guitar that I built. We were trying to find everything that was English, and for the nut and the saddle, I could have used English cattle. But I spoke to my dad, and because he's a geologist, I said, "Is there something? These are the characteristics that I need for for nuts and saddle. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be strong. It needs to be dense." And he said, "Have you thought of jet?" And I was like, so it was used in Victorian times for jewellery.
That's right.
So it takes up this amazing polish, but it's really weird because it's got quite a warm feel to it. So it's not cold, because you think that it looks like a stone, but it's got a really warm feel. I mean, you can actually probably just feel it.
Wow. Yeah, I went on holiday to Whitby as a kid, and I remember seeing there's a jet museum there with all sorts of beautiful stuff. Yeah.
So it kind of played into the theme of this guitar, and it looks pretty cool. And for the headstock, you normally carve in the bird, but I was convinced, although it took a little bit of convincing to do it, but to change the bird into a dragon for this one. And again, it's kind of it's fun. It's fun to kind of come up with new ideas and slightly different approaches to things. It kind of keeps things interesting.
So you've got the little bevel there again.
Yeah, and this one's slightly bigger so this one goes down, so it's a bit more, but this is actually a slightly new design that I've done where I've kind of marked it off. So the kind of the colour wood here is purple heart, so that's completely natural.
Okay.
It's naturally this lovely vibrant purple colour, and we were kind of thinking this is going to be a pretty dark guitar. And if you look on the back of the neck, there's a lamination of purple heart going right down the middle.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And on the back of the headstock, it just kind of gives a bit of colour to something that possibly could have just turned into a really kind of dark guitar.
This oak is stunning, isn't it? I love these flashes of colour running through.
Yeah. It's an amazing wood, and it's the first time that I've used it as a neck material, and it's it's dense and it's heavy, so
right, so
it's going to bring a different characteristic to the guitar.
The neck's bog oak as well. Amazing. And what's the top?
It is ancient Sitka spruce, and
Right.
that has come directly from Alaska. And the story of that is very similar to bog oak. It was preserved in the glaciers for I think about 2,000 or 3,000 years, and it's naturally turned this grey colour. It's been obviously harvested, dried, and it just kind of, with the theme of all this ancient stuff on this guitar, it's just kind of set it off really nicely.
Beautiful. Titanium bridge pins?
Titanium bridge pins.
And why not? Wonderful. And is there a Highlander IP2?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got the preamp, we've got the mic. So that was, yeah.
That's pretty rock and roll, isn't it?
It's hopefully it will. The owner is going to enjoy it and make some nice music out of it.
So continuing on the theme from the dragging guitar, we're going to have a look at some native English timbers, and this is really Rosie's specialty. This is what you're best known for. It's
kind of something that I was interested in right from the point when I started learning, coming across the English walnut as a back and side set,
Sure.
and that kind of spawned this whole obsession about finding all the different woods that can be used to replace the traditional woods. So there's and when you start to look into it, like, we have a whole variety of woods, both indigenous and introduced.
Sure.
So indigenous woods are ones that have always been here and grown naturally here. Introduced ones have been grown or shipped, seeds have been brought from other countries, which was done, I think, if my understanding is correct, or a lot of the estates, the big estates introduced lots of cedar trees which were never here before. Kind of thing. Exactly.
Well, let me put this to one side just for a moment. So what's up first?
So this is a build that I'm working on at the moment. It is a lovely example of London Plain, and it's actually, if I'm correct, was sourced from Chelsea in London.
Right, so lacewood.
Lacewood.
Excellent.
So it's got this kind of very, I'd say tonally, probably closest to maple. You can also get English sycamore, which is even closer to maple. But yeah, stunning example there. But yeah, as I was saying, the more kind of you start investigating into what hardwoods, what softwoods are available and grown in this country, you kind of go down this whole path of discovering. So
it's a bit of a rabbit hole, isn't it?
It's a bit of a rabbit hole. So I've kind of acquired tons of English timber just because I'm really excited about it. I don't know if it's ever going to. Well, it will certainly be used, and I'm experimenting. I recently did a guitar out of apple, which is that was actually had a bit of spalting in, but this is kind of an example of English apple. But it's absolutely gorgeous. It's blue streaking running through it. Imagine the book match pear is going to have that light bit running down the middle.
Isn't that wonderful?
But it's a very dense wood apple.
Right.
I've heard not so easy to bend, but we'll hit that bridge when we when we get there.
We'll burn that bridge when we
we'll
get
burn that bridge when we get there. And then English yew I've been using, as you saw earlier on the soundboard. Built a couple of back and sides out of it. There's funny stories associated with yew, and I'm not sure if they're all entirely true, but apparently they used to grow the yew trees in churchyards in England.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Either purify the dead or stop cows eating or deter cows.
Really?
That could be a complete lie. I've no idea if that's true.
I always thought it was an archery thing.
Well, and yes, so it was used in longbows because it springs back, and I can attest to that. After bending it wants to spring back. But yeah, I just love all these, and the bog oak as well. The story about how old bog oak is, and the process that it takes to dry it to make it usable. I think it's nice to be able to tell these stories through the guitars and to kind of hear their voice, I guess, as well. And this is, so you kind of, it can be quite rare. I know the example on my TG that I've built is quite a pure board, but you normally is kind of gnarly, and so you can get different sets. So this one, you can see, has got like a whole load of dark streaking going on. The sapwood is a lovely white colour, so again, if you can get a little bit of that, maybe down the middle, that looks really cool, on the sides as well. But again, different trees. I mean, I guess it's like with most species, different trees, but this set of yew has got a bit of figuring in the grain.
Oh wow!
It's
almost
a lot
quilted, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a lot more orange. So this one, it will darken, but this, I mean, you can just see naturally in their pure state, they're very different. So it's it's kind of finding sources for this stuff can be interesting. Some luthier suppliers sell sets of it, but for necks and for kind of decorative, I go to timber yards, sawmills.
Right. And then we have the 1,000-year-old Finland oak. Yeah.
Finland oak, again, varies massively. I've done a set which is completely black throughout. This one, once it's kind of still, it's got the planer marks on it, but lovely light streaking. The dragon has a lovely bit of red running through, so it's, and with oak, if you've seen kind of on oak doors or in pews, the medullary rays that you naturally get with oak when it's cut on the quarter are just these wonderful kind of effect that you get under a finish. It just looks absolutely amazing. So it's kind of, it's interesting. This is a very dense wood, so this is kind of similar to ebony. I mean, this is this is completely different to that. That you're going to have a completely different guitar. This one, in my experience, I've teamed it with cedar. It kind of brings a sustaining, a depth to it. The yew is very light and it's shimmery, so it brings kind of a quicker attack, a more shimmer and more clarity, whereas this one has kind of got a bit more depth, a bit more grunt behind it. But obviously everything kind of plays into what else is going on in the guitar, what size it is, but kind of learning the characters of these woods and trying to kind of team them up with people's playing styles is really interesting. Absolutely,
because like a number of British luthiers, you're dealing with clients on a one-to-one basis, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's not so much let's make a generic instrument that will appeal to as many people as possible. You're absolutely dialing it in for one particular player.
Exactly. This is an exclusive for Michael. This is something new that I'm developing. It's my first multiscale guitar. I've been kind of interested in multiscales for a long time now, but haven't really had the chance to develop one. I'm going to NAMM in California, which is the big, it's kind of a huge international show, but there's a boutique section that's becoming really popular, and I'm going along to that. So I thought, let's do something new and exciting for that. So this is...
that's Jamie, isn't it?
Jamie Gale. Yep. Hi, Jamie. So the nice set of quilted sapelli.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
On the back, with a lovely ebony back strip going through it. And I have used puduk for this because going back to what I was explaining about using timbers, puduk has got a really kind of nice ring to it, and I want to bring that into the guitar, so that's going to kind of be, as you can see on the sides as well, that's what the kerfing is going to be.
Wow.
Got a Benjamin inspired scoop going in on this one, so kind of I'm thinking, okay, a multi-scale, what are the scales going to be, who is this kind of designed for? It's going to be, someone that uses different tunings. It's going to want the access, basically. Absolutely. I'm trying to just, obviously envisage it all in my head. Aesthetically, I'm having a bit of fun with this one. So this is the Rosette design, which kind of is a play. I don't know if you can...
Oh, that's gorgeous.
So it's a play on a fan. So if you're imagining the fan is coming down like this, then this is kind of an aesthetic extension of the fan.
Oh, okay. So from your parallel fret, the whole thing's coming out.
Yes.
And you've got the lines out of the Rosette too. So
I kind of just want it to visually follow the fan, and then what I'm going to do on the headstock is have it go the other way. Beautiful. So slightly into the headstock and then have the bird at the top. But that's kind of aesthetically my inspiration for the multi-scale, is to bring the fan into the kind of general feeling of it.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I'm super excited about it, and obviously you kind of, when you do these things, you don't think of all the intricacies of what it actually is for it actually to make it. So I was just working on the headstock last week, and because you've got the nut is at that angle, it changes the angle of the headstock. So you have to kind of think, well, how does it all work on the back? What does that mean for the back? It's all these, like this, when I designed the slotted headstock, you don't think about all the things about the width of the slots, the angles of the slots, making sure the strings don't catch. It's it's a nightmare, isn't it? It's a nightmare.
Who'd do it? And yet, here we are.
Yeah.
How lovely. Will there be a new bridge design?
So that is in development. I want to keep it similar, but yeah, I'm going to adapt it slightly again to kind of have that feel of movement. But I haven't yet decided whether to kind of go a bit more for that flat approach, so the kind of Samoji-esque, where you and structurally that kind of makes sense, where you keep it flat so that it's kind of still pointing up the grain.
Right, yeah.
Or go for the more, I guess, used more, where it's kind of, you are literally just orientating your bridge to be more in line with what your chosen fan is. So.
You've got the Woodstock show coming up. You've got NAMM after that. What are your plans after that? Are you going to be back in Berlin for people in Europe to see?
Yes. There's quite a lot of... So the EGB, the people that organise the Holy Grail show, they are looking to do a lot more of these things where we go as a group to different shows.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So that's really exciting, because I went to Guitar Summit in Germany around this time last year.
Right.
And they're thinking of going... They listed a whole ton of events that they're thinking of. So in Tokyo, more in Germany, I think France, China. So I'm interested in that. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But yeah, so America is kind of exciting, and I've been to Berlin, and obviously
you had a very successful Holy Grail show, didn't you?
It was really cool. It was kind of loosely themed around women, luthiers and players.
Yeah.
So it was kind of exciting to be part of a panel discussion talking about kind of women in lutherie, perhaps why there aren't as many as there should be. But also, I think I unfortunately didn't see it, but perhaps why women as players don't feel kind of encouraged to come to the events like this, and the reasons why. And I just, that kind of whole discussion really interests me about kind of the female players and builders as well. And obviously, if I want to encourage, as many women as possible to get into it, because I think, if you can show that you can do it, then I think we can bring a lot to the craft. And
of course. Well, yeah, I mean, that's there's been some phenomenal work coming from Linda Manza, Judy Threatt, Kathy Wingett over the years, and that's just the start. And there's a new generation coming through as well. Did you get to London to see the Group of Seven show? No, but it's because I thought it was only there. I thought I'd missed it, but then I saw on Instagram that you went. Yeah. Is it still there? Well, I think they've extended it till November. Oh, bro, so yeah, then I definitely will. We should get out there. Yeah. Have you seen the movie? I have. Yeah, it's beautiful. Before the Holy Grail, they do a symposium, so all the builders can kind of have a good old natter before we show. And Grit and Linda did a talk about it, so they talked about it, and we saw the video, and it was it's kind of so inspiring. Well, their whole long relationship and the fact that they're still so closely connected to one another, but the connection to the artists and the Canadian kind of the artistic scene is kind of I think what they're doing is almost mirroring the relationship of those artists into their own kind of relationship, and the whole thing is really interesting. What inspires you outside of guitar making? Outside of guitar making, I would say I think nature is quite a big inspiration for me. I really like being outdoors. I like walking. I like kind of looking intricately at things out in the outdoors, leaves, flowers. I think that's what inspires me most, and that's why I generally only ever use wood decoratively. Yeah, I've never seen you use anything else except for inlay work. No, because I think it's just so beautiful as it is that I just want to show it off. The burrs, I mean, this is a fine example of just something so natural being so beautiful. That kind of
inspires me.
Wow. Yeah, I can see why. Well, look, Rosie, I know you're very busy getting all this stuff ready for Woodstock, so thank you
That's a
very
pleasure.
much for your time.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for watching.